I'm Kim Cupid, and I'm the Curator of Collections for the Denton County Office of History and Culture. The Virginia Carpenter case is one of those cases that kind of has lasted for 80 years in Denton history. It's one that keeps coming up and brought up again and again. One of the things about the case with the newspaper reports is that they did leave behind a lot of articles were written about Virginia Carpenter. We were able to retain those clippings and those newspaper stories and photographs of her that we have in our archives today. So that's how I became familiar with the Virginia Carpenter story, was through the Denton Record Chronicle archive file that we have in our collection here at the museum. What did I think happened to Virginia? I don't think she ran away. I think she met for foul play. Who committed the foul play is still left to no one knows. It's Denton's great unsolved mystery.
Hi, my name is Steffi.
My name is Mariella.
My name is Sheridan.
And my name is Hannah.
And we're the Denton County Junior Historians.
Let's open up Virginia's timeline to the days leading up to the disappearance. On May 22nd, Virginia went to a pool party in Dagerfield, Texas, where she also met Kenny. At the party, she ended up getting a second-degree sunburn and heat stroke. This injury would be later used to identify her when she went missing. On May 28th, Virginia finished her work at Kennynham Junior College. Virginia would later decide to go to TSCW to take her 2 advanced science courses since the junior college did not offer them.
I'm just gonna ask, how do you get a second-degree sunburn?
You stand in the sun, Virginia.
I know that. I watched someone get heat stroke, but you would think that after the first degree you would feel it.
Things to think about.
Things to think about.
Food for thought.
The morning. On June 1st, 1948, which was a Tuesday, Virginia Carpenter disappeared. And that day, Hazel, her mother, saw her off at the train station, and Virginia seemed very excited to get going on to college. Now, she was last seen wearing a brown, green, and white striped chambray dress, a white hat, red platform shoes, and was carrying a red purse. So, I think you'd be able to spot her, so that's good that she's wearing something like that. And at 9 p.m., she hailed a cab after arriving in Denton, and she and one other girl got in the cab and was taken to the campus. But before she got out, Virginia realized she forgot to check the train station to see if her luggage had arrived. So she asked the cab driver, Zachary, who was the last person to see her alive, to take her back to the train station. And then he brought her back at 9:30 p.m. Now, after this point, we don't know if this is actual fact. This is just what Zachary said, but he said that Virginia got out of the cab and walked up to a yellow or cream-colored convertible that was parked nearby with 2 young men. They were described as one tall and one chunky. Now, Virginia asked them, according to Zachary, well, what are y'all doing here? Now, what's odd about this is Zachary worked on cars, and when he was describing the car, first of all, he never said a make or a model, but he should know those things. Also, in different interviews, he said different colors. It was either yellow or cream, which is odd. You should be able to tell the color of a car. But anyways, just also something to think about. But no one had realized she disappeared until 3 days later.
On June 4th, 1948, at 9:30 p.m., a call came for Virginia from Dallas at her mother's house in Texarkana. Mrs. Hazel Carpenter didn't pick it up because she didn't know anyone in Dallas until she started to get nervous, realizing that the call most likely came from Kenny. And if Kenny was calling, what happened to Virginia? So she called Brackenridge to check on Virginia, and she was told that Virginia never showed up. She called Kenny back in Dallas, and he confirmed that he was the one who had called her earlier in the night, and that he had also called Brackenridge to look for Virginia, but that they had also told him that she wasn't there. So then she had her boarder, Mrs. Lucille Bailey, call the Dean of Women at TSCW, Mrs. Maddie Wooten, who said, quote, "Mrs. Bailey, Virginia is not registered at any of the halls, and I don't want to be a pessimist, but we found her trunk thrown upon the campus in a very peculiar manner. And we have the trunk on the back of Brackenridge Hall. This is the first time in the history of the school that a trunk has ever been found on the lawn. They are always delivered to the girls' rooms." Mrs. Bailey then told Mrs. Wooten to call the police and that she and Hazel would be there by morning. Hazel Carpenter got back into contact with Kenny, who she then drove to Denton for the interviews. During Kenny's interrogation, they hooked him up to a lie detector and he supposedly lied to them. Mrs. Carpenter said about this, "I don't condone his lies in the least and was surprised at them, yet I feel the boy is entirely innocent. If I thought that someone had murdered my daughter, I would not be letting them into my vehicle."
I mean, that's like the bare minimum.
That's like the bare minimum of what I wouldn't do.
Picking up where you left off, July 11th, 1948, this was aka Kenny Branham's interrogation, where he was interrogated by Glenn Lanford, Jack Shepard, and Louis Rigler for about 12 hours, which is a lot of time. And really what they got out was just a confirmation of his alibi and where he was, because it checked out with his employer, his landlady, and some other people in Dallas on the night of June 1st. And also that he and Virginia were really in love, and they talked a lot about marriage. So, I don't know. Spicy. Anyway, next, you're also spicy. Spicy. July 8th, 1948, aka Zachary's interrogation. So, Louis Rigler executed another polygraph test, to which Zachary readily agreed. And this was headed by Fritz Christian, who was a special investigator for the director, and he was called upon as kind of like the expert polygraph person. And this is from Christian's report. The subject was given 7 tests.
That's a lot of polygraph tests.
Yes, it is. You know, it's also like the creator of the polygraph test was like, "I created a monster."
So I'm not condoning any of what I'm about to say, but it's very easy to lie to a polygraph test. Like, it's based on your heart rate and your breathing and like something else. And if you can like learn how to, under like a stressful situation, to calm those things down, then you're fine. Like, there have been people that have gone to jail or been acquitted because either they were just scared and were telling the truth, or they did it and they just lied to the test, because psychopaths have no emotions.
Or do the thing from Ocean's 8 where you put in like a needle in your foot and then it just spikes your heart rate and it just...
And Ocean's 8 is a bonkers movie, dude.
So the subject was given 7 tests to determine whether or not he was responsible for the disappearance of Virginia Carpenter and whether or not the story he related to you regarding his activities was the truth. And in that test, they found that he was being honest, although there were some discrepancies that were probably can be attributed to, like Mariana said, nerves. But then afterwards, Louis Rigler still suspected him because his story was weak. The aftermath was that Louis Rigler became all consumed by the case, kind of obsessed with it, and he even wrote about his obsession in his memoir, In the Line of Duty.
Years have passed since 21-year-old Virginia Carpenter boarded that train, and today the young woman still hasn't reached her dormitory. Her disappearance from the TSCW campus that night in June so long ago has haunted me all these years. About $250,000 and countless man-hours were spent on the Virginia Carpenter investigation, but we never came close to finding the young woman.
And also Zachary moved away from Denton after the case and was harassed about the crime by a lot of the followers of Virginia Carpenter. Not like it's a cult, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
people who follow the case, yeah. Hazel Carpenter continued to write about Virginia, making sure that her case would never be forgotten.
Kenny quit his job in Dallas after the disappearance, and the whereabouts of her other boyfriends, Willie, Billy, and Mag, are still unknown.
Virginia's Carpenter's case spread like wildfire all over the United States, but in the end it remains unsolved.
Virginia's Carpenter's decision to go to college and, have boyfriends, I think was just her, being 20. This is a true crime case. It ticks all the boxes of what makes a true crime case interesting. You have a young girl, she was a college student, she went missing, there's a mysterious cab driver whose story keeps changing. You have this boyfriend, or maybe you have that boyfriend, and you have the connection with a serial killer. The serial killer that was in Texarkana was just a few years before Virginia Carpenter went missing. And you have this kind of dark past of what was going on in her personal life. Fits all the boxes of what makes an interesting true crime case.
Thank you for watching!
Tune in next time to hear us discuss the theories of the case.
And we're the Denton County Junior Historians.